everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of SPOCK the Week with myself and, as always, my good friend and co-host Gregor Cameron. Gregor, how are you doing today?
I hate you. I hate you on Android. I had to watch an episode of Discovery as part of this today.
Oh,
This
yes.
was your chosen topic. So I hate you.
Well,
Making me do that.
by popular vote on Twitter and on our Facebook page as well, we had the two most popular versions of Pike were the Disco Pike and the J.J. Abrams version of Pike. But we'll be talking about all versions of Pike because this is a quick-fire discussion. As we've done with the movies, we've decided, because, well, me personally, I enjoyed doing the discussions about the movies. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do them with the characters. So we've got something we can talk about forever and ever and eternity because there's just so much. We now have a content base, which is brilliant. And we're going to get some days like today where Gregor is seething. I mean, you'll watch as the show goes on, ladies and gentlemen, how much he shifts in the seat and squirms, and he's resisting the temptation to go off into full Gregor mode. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to go further in this episode, viewer discretion is advised. So, let's talk about Captain Pike. Now, obviously, Gregor, you are your personal opinions sit nicely into the way we're going to do this, and we're going to start at the beginning with the original Pike from the original series. So, with that in mind, let's hear it from you, Gregor. What do you think of the original Pike?
The Cage is a pretty good episode. It's a very interesting episode. There's a lot of themes in it. And when we first meet Pike, as played by Jeffrey Hunter, he's got the world on his shoulders. He's tired of the responsibility of the life and death decisions that he has to make. And he has a chat, I can't remember the doctor's name in the episode, but he's a chat with the doctor, and he's pretty much at the end of his tether, and he's not seen any way forward or any future for himself in Starfleet. So quite a different captain from the one that we got later in Kirk. Very different captain. And it was an interesting episode to watch what happened to Pike when the Talosians got inside his head, and he met Vina, and he sort of reconciled himself that ultimately he was doing, it's good, that he was doing good, that he was a good captain. So yeah, I mean, I think that's overall probably the Pike that had the most depth of all the Pikes.
To be honest with you, I agree with you. Like I say, I'm not a huge fan of the original series. I know, shocker. But I don't dislike them. I've just never really sat down and properly watched them all. I watch them every now and again, but I do have to say that the original Pike, played by Jeffrey Hunter, I do enjoy that particular version of Pike. And would Star Trek have gone the way it did if they'd have continued on with Jeffrey Hunter and Pike? Or would
I think
would it have gone the way it's gone? I mean, it was.
Jeffrey Hunter. I mean, there's a bit of irony there in that Jeffrey Hunter had his own mental health issues that culminated with his suicide shortly after he filmed that. So it's somewhat ironic that he was mentally in a bad place at the beginning of the Cage. So we'll never know. And then there's the whole story about what all the changes that the studio wanted between the first pilot and the second pilot.
Because I think was it they said it was too cerebral for the
Yeah,
intended audience. I
yeah.
disagree with. I honestly, genuinely disagree with that. I mean, like I say, the irony is that we even if they had continued, we never would have found out what it would be like anyway. God rest him. But I genuinely liked that first episode of the original series because it was very intellectually stimulating. You know, it was a lot going on there. There was a lot of stuff and beautifully played. I mean, beautifully played by Jeffrey Hunter there. So yeah, definitely. I mean, I would have loved to have seen more, which in a small way is why I'm kind of glad we're getting Strange New Worlds. Okay, yes, it's a modern take on it. It's a new actor, but it's the character of Pike. So if it's done properly, we will see what would have happened had we continued on with Christopher Pike in the original series, maybe. But we'll get more onto that a little bit later on, which I'm looking forward to. I don't think Gregor is particularly, but yeah, I mean, he's one thing we have to say is that he's even before Discovery. I've spoken with a lot of people who really have a soft spot for the character of Pike, which I think, to be perfectly honest with you, as far as the creation of the character and the actor who played him, that says a lot, because officially you've only got the one episode where you really get a depth of, where you really get the character, which is the pilot episode, The Cage. So I think it says a lot about the character, that it has such a good following just by one episode. I mean, there are other characters out there that were in 1-2 episodes that have people that like them and that. So it's not just Pike, but it says a lot. It really says a lot. And I think, to be honest with you, me personally, I think it was I don't think it was a mistake to change it out, because look at what it did. You know, we can look back at it retrospectively and say, okay, fair enough, we're here now because of what happened. But maybe they should have had that as a back, as another series, something else. You know what I mean?
It's
like what
easy
they're
with
doing now.
but it's easy with hindsight, and it's 50 years later, and we've got a whole Star Trek universe because we've had now so many films, so many series, and we've got this whole, Star Trek is more than just the original series. But back then, no one could have envisaged that happening.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to be just a show that would run for a few seasons, and then that would be it. So it's easy to apply that thinking to hindsight. Well, could they have had a spin-off thing? But that was certainly not the intention. The idea was to get a show, get through the pilot, and then produce the show.
I mean, not to take anything away from William Shatner and Captain Kirk and stuff like that, because equally as good, as far as the whole franchise and fandom's concerned. But yeah, I mean, he is a popular character, and that's something that I find fascinating. I mean, before we got season 2 of Discovery, and we found out that we were going to get Christopher Pike, the reaction was just overwhelming. It was like, wow. People were getting really excited about. And I have to say, in my personal opinion, if we didn't have Anson Mount as Christopher Pike in Discovery season 2, I don't think it would have been as tolerable for me. I mean, I know you're not a fan. We've well and truly established that over the past 7 or 8 episodes. But personally, I think, the character of Pike was a good choice to bring that into Discovery. How they went with it after that, that's a different, and like I say, I mean, if I let you have the floor on that one, we'd be here until next Tuesday. But where they went with it was, I think, they could have done it a little bit better. But But yeah, I mean, one of the things we asked through Spot the Week's Twitter page as well was what episode. So we know what your favourite Pike is. What was your favourite Pike episodes? And there was a couple. New Eden was mentioned. And one, I think it was Captain Pikachu on Twitter, where she was like, yeah, it's really good. I like it because you get to see Pike, a more sort of, into theological Pike, if you like. But she mentioned that jacket, the jacket he wears when he goes down to New Eden. I mean, okay. Some people, it's sometimes it's just as simple as that. Sometimes it's when, I mean, like, I love the way that Rainn Wilson plays Captain, Mudd, Harry Mudd, yeah. But we'll get onto that on a different episode. But pure and simply because he just rocked it. And I think, to be honest, Anson Mount rocks Pike. But you don't agree with me on that one, particularly with...
No. See, now you're putting words in my mouth. I never said that Anson Mount was a bad Pike. I think he polishes a turd. There's nothing wrong with Anson Mount's performance, and not so much his persona as Pike. He looks every bit the Starfleet captain that Pike is meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
As Cornwall says to him early on, you are the very best of Starfleet. And he has that persona. However, New Eden's a terrible episode. Absolutely awful episode. I mean, I thought the first episode of Discovery Season 2 was bad until I got to the second episode, and it was even worse.
Hold on a minute.
It was just awful.
I think
absolutely.
Computer.
Absolutely awful.
Black alert.
Oh, see, Alexa's like...
Black alert. Black alert.
I think we're going to jump to the end of this rant, I think, because if I let him go on...
Black alert.
And, well, the thing is, right, they originally wanted to portray Pike as a Roman Catholic in Star Trek in the 23rd century, when we already know that, Christ. The show created by an atheist about a secular society, and they wanted to make Captain Pike a Roman Catholic. It tells you everything you need to know about the writing team. Everything you need to know.
There's a lot of elements in that, to be honest with you, in Discovery. And yeah, if you live your life looking at those and those alone, then you're never really going to get anywhere. But I have to agree. I mean, my understanding of the future of Star Trek is... But then again, having said that, when we get to the TNG era, religion, war, famine has virtually disappeared. But forgive me, because I'm by no means a book-ended Trek geek. I don't know everything there is to know about Trek. But has it really disappeared this early in the Trek timeline? Could it still be a thing?
No, definitely not. It couldn't. It just couldn't. I mean, it was never in the... It's just awful. Anyway, can we move on?
No.
To If Memory Serves.
Yes.
So, when I was watching season 2 of Discovery and hating every single episode, when this episode came out, I thought, actually, this one's not bad. I actually quite enjoyed the episode. And I was actually really dreading it when I knew they were going back to Talos 4, because they've successfully managed to shit on everything else that's went before them. So I thought, by going back to the pilot, they're going to do a big, massive turd on this one. And I actually thought they did an okay job of it. I think,
to be honest...
This is okay. I'm not finished. But...
What the fuck was that?
One of Sarah's pens. But...
I thought you'd scared a tribble or something.
But, as I've said in previous episodes, about the Jar Jar Trek movies. They do not stand up to a second viewing. As I've said about Discovery, when I've tried to watch the episodes that I have tried to watch again, they just do not stand up to a second viewing. And I watched earlier today, because we were doing this, I watched, if memory serves, Jesus, it was terrible. It was just awful. And
Well,
you're
maybe.
not Pike. This is the thing with Discovery Pike. We see more of Discovery Pike than we do any other Pike. Okay? And Anson Mount does an excellent job of the persona of Pike. However, as Pike, the character in Discovery, he lets Section 31 shit all over him. He lets Burnham shit all over him. He can't do anything without asking Burnham. It's just awful. He's not a good captain in Discovery. He's not. I don't care what you say. He's not. He can't do anything. He's got to ask Burnham and then do exactly what Burnham says. But he lets Section 31 walk all over him. Just, you know, in the menagerie, that Pike that's in the wheelchair and the burnt face, he can't talk and he has the bleeping lights that he does once or twice. He had more depth to him than Discovery Pike.
Okay, I think we've
He's
just...
the second best Pike.
I think we've just lost.
That's the second best Pike.
I think we've just lost a couple of viewers there. You feel better for that, Gregor?
I'm only just getting started. It's just awful. Don't even get me started on Jar Jar Pike.
Oh, unfortunately, we are going to have to. We're going to have to fall down that rabbit hole, I'm afraid.
If ever there was a character who has disrespected by the people who produce Star Trek these days, it's Pike. Absolutely.
I think, to be honest with you, I think there's certain elements of sort of like the writing. I think it's more than the stories. I think is what lets Pike down in Discovery. I think. I mean, to be fair, I disagree with you a little bit as far as your analysis of Pike letting Section 31 rule all over him. I think he's just I genuinely do disagree with you. I mean, I think it's a case of picking back.
Here's a wee scenario for you.
Oh, here we go.
Section 31, place someone on the Enterprise D to observe.
Yeah, okay.
How long do you think they'd be on the Enterprise D? Section 31, place someone on Voyager to observe. How long do you think they'd be on Voyager? Section 31, place someone on Deep Space Nine. In fact, they did, or they tried to observe. How long do you think they'd be there? Do you think Sisko, Jamie, and Picard would let Section 31 on the bridge of their ship?
Now, here's the thing. See, those scenarios are out of context, personally speaking. Ash Tyler is not just any Section 31 operative.
Okay.
He has history with the Discovery.
He's a Klingon Section 31 operative.
Right. Okay. But there is some history with Discovery there. And to be fair, there's an element that I get from Ash Tyler that he doesn't fully buy into what Section 31 are trying to do now. He knows what Section 31...
Still tries to tell Pike what to do.
Yes,
Pike what to do.
But Pike is playing the game. Honestly, that's what I think. Genuinely, he's playing the game. He's not just going, yes, sir, right, sir, free bag full, sir. No, he is playing the game, picking his battles. It's all relative anyway, because the bugger off a couple of thousand years into the future at the end of this. Spoilers, by the way. Sorry.
Well, don't even get me started on the Burn. Got that to put up with in 2 weeks' time. The Burn. Jesus. Honestly.
Oh, we are definitely going to have to.
Earlier today, I was defrosting my freezer. And I enjoyed that more than watching If Memory Serves.
Right, okay.
That was better fun.
I think we've well and truly established you are not a fan of this. Oh, I tell you one thing, I
quite liked Anson Mount's Pike until I watched that episode today, and I was like, oh god.
Well, look at it this way, right? Personally, from me, I think there are certain elements of the episode that don't quite hold up to scrutiny. In your case, it's the whole damn thing. But for me, there's a couple of little bits. But I think, to be honest with you,
Give me an example.
Well, it's the whole Section 31 thing. In relative, I mean, first and foremost, they already know where he's going. They're already on his tail. I mean, if Section 31 were really looking, they would have some way of tracking. So there'd be none of this, it just how they turn up and it's like, no, I'm sorry, but it's the way in which that's done. I mean, the only criticism I've got about Section 31 is that they have this presence in Discovery where before, in all other previous iterations of Trek, they were exactly what they are described as, a clandestine section of Starfleet. And to be honest with you, there's literally nothing clandestine about it. So
in Discovery, they're the KGB.
I mean... But
if you ever see The Hunt for Red October and they're on the submarine and Sean Connery's the captain, but there's a KGB observer there. That's what they do in Discovery.
Mm-hmm. But like I say, if you were wanting to see what somebody was up to, you certainly wouldn't put somebody known to the crew, and you wouldn't definitely put somebody on and let them know that they had an observer on. It would be undercover. I mean... Okay, it lasted about 5 minutes, or for some people, 5 seconds, but in Star Trek Picard, depending on how good you are at working these things out, it takes a little while for the audience to work out that somebody in a high position in Starfleet isn't who they say they are. The dramatic irony of that is that the characters don't know this. And that's where I think that episode, this and other subsequent episodes of Section 31 fall down with Discovery, is that there isn't that dramatic irony.
There are things we can talk about Section 31, but we'll save that for a Deep Space Nine one, because there's a lot to talk about on that once we get further down in Deep Space Nine.
Yes, just for the record, we are currently working on a podcast where I journey through Deep Space Nine, so we will make occasional references to that as we go through our Spot the Week episodes. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But we went off on a little bit of a tangent there. But but me personally, I think it's a great tie-in to or at least a nod, a homage, if you like, to the original Pike in this episode, in the fact that they go back to Talos for they meet. And by the way, I don't know what you think, but I genuinely think they did a reasonably good job with the Felosians, as far as the design, the character design. It was sympathetic to the original. The only thing is, I think that it did look to me on a couple of them that they just had a couple of leftover Klingon prosthetics and just modified them a little bit to make them look like Felosians. But
maybe, but I mean.
But anyway, by the by, the fact is,
it wasn't their story. They took a 50-year-old story.
No. I mean, I don't think they were trying to rehash it. That's the fundamental thing. They weren't trying to rehash it, but they were trying to tie it in. Whether you think it was a good way of doing it, was it the right thing? I mean, we clearly, obviously, understand that you don't think it was.
I still think it's the best episode of season 2, but I just don't think it's very good. But still the best episode of season 2.
But I did like the bit where, towards the end of this particular arc within Discovery, where Pike sees his future.
Again, but it's not their story.
Again,
we know that. we know that. We know that because we watched The Cage and we watched The Menagerie.
But that's the thing. This is the thing with. I mean, when the character knows something, we know something, and the character doesn't. That's dramatic irony. And fair enough. That's what should I think that worked in that respect, is that Pike didn't know what was going to happen to him, and he's seen what was going to happen to him. I mean, that does two things. I mean, it ties us in with the original Pike, as in it sort of grounds this Pike into the lore of Trek. Just let me turn that off so that it doesn't go off again. But don't know. Sorry about that, folks. So it ties us in, it grounds this character in. But here's where it could get a little bit dangerous as far as the character of Pike is concerned with Discovery and into the Strange New World series as well, is that they definitely have a defined timeline for this character. Okay? That's where I think we're going to see how well they work this, how good Pike's going to be, and when somebody's looking back at this in 20, 30, 50 years' time, what will they say about Anson Mount as Pike, or the Discovery era of Pike? Personally, like I say, I like him. I do. I like the character. I don't think I've got a bad episode. There's a couple of episodes where I'm like, okay, I'll be sat watching a Pike episode, a heavy Pike episode, and I'm still listening, I'm still watching the story, but it doesn't have me invested. I think I have to be honest and say, as much as I do like this episode, it did have a couple of moments where I did that. I'll be honest. I think, to be honest with you, for me, the best episodes were the first couple of episodes where we got introduced to Pike and we seen Pike on the bridge, getting to know the crew, getting to know the ship. One thing that does, and this is an example of things that I think fall flat as far as the character of Pike is concerned, a captain of a flagship starship with, I would assume, who would have pretty high clearance within Starfleet. I would imagine he would have some knowledge, maybe not of how it works or where it was being done, but the surprise and the look on his face, like he's never seen Spore Drive before, when they jumped for the first time with Pike on. I mean, surely he would have been briefed at the very least if he was going on to Discovery to take that on, if he was going to...
But you're just talking about, again, the bad writing that's in Discovery, because there's this ridiculous scene with Cornwall, or this ridiculous scenario that Cornwall does when Cornwall meets him and hands over the Enterprise, I think the first episode or whatever. And yeah, you never got to fight the war because you're the best. What the fuck? What? You know, you're the best of Starfleet, so we kept you because you're the best captain. And you're in the best ship, so we kept you out of the war. What the fuck?
That'd be like the England manager turning around and saying, "No, we're going to keep he's the best player we've got, so we're going to keep David Beckham on the bench." You know, it's like, I mean, that's a historical reference there, but it's
just stupid. You know, one of the crazy things that they seem to come out with in this. But that's like, and as I say, there's nothing wrong. I quite enjoy Mount's performance. I think he comes over as the persona that he portrays is great. He does come over as a leader, but fair play to Anson Mount. I think he really does polish a turd with what he's been given to work with. Absolutely, he does. And I mean,
I'll agree.
I just can't believe how bad that episode was when I watched it again. And that was an episode that I did like.
I mean, what does that say to you when it's an episode that you do like and you struggle to watch it on a second viewing?
Yeah, I mean, it tells me that I know other people say that like Discovery, but to me, if it doesn't stand up to a second viewing, it's got absolutely no shelf life.
I think
absolutely no shelf life at all.
I
could watch. There's episodes from TNG and DS9 and Voyager I could watch again and again.
I genuinely think I watched it again myself as well for the purposes of this episode. I've recently watched the movies, the Abrams movies, where we're going to segue onto that into a
Sorry?
second. I say we're
Sorry?
yes, we are going there. We are going there, Gregor. Stop trying to. You're not going into a tunnel. You know, your internet's fine.
No.
We are discussing, and we are sort of going off.
It's okay. I've saved the battery. The dilithium's fine. It's okay. Carry on.
We are talking about Pike, which does mean, unfortunately, we have to go there. Yes,
Okay.
it's restricted airspace
Okay.
for you. It's like Talos 4.
Okay.
We are going there. We are going there. It's happening.
Right. Okay, let's go for it. Come on. Let's do it.
To say that it's not a mainstream character in that you say it's somebody that was placed in there to set up another character. I do agree with you on that. However, what was the actor's name again? I think I've lost him.
Greenwood.
Bruce Greenwood. To be honest with you, I think he was, and this goes back to what we said in previous episodes where we discussed the 2009 Trek. I genuinely believe the casting in those films was spot on, and that includes Bruce Greenwood as Pike. I think he does play what we interpret from the pilot episode as Pike, and I think he does that really. I think he does that really well. Could it have done more? Yes. Could the character have played a bigger role in the films? Possibly so. But I genuinely do, and I can see why people have voted this as their second favourite Pike, because I think the character holds up. I mean, just because it's a character that sets up the Kirk story, it doesn't make it any less of an important character. Doesn't take anything away from that, because without that, we wouldn't have the building blocks of the rest of the story.
But it's back to the point I made earlier about the treatment of the character.
Yeah, they have run roughshod. Yeah,
the character and the importance of the character to Star Trek lore. You know, he's in the films for about 5 minutes and he gets killed after 5 minutes in the second one. And all he does in the first one is he says a couple of motivational things to Kirk in order to, get Kirk to go to Starfleet Academy. And other than that, the writers have given him nothing to do. So, I mean, Bruce Greenwood is an excellent actor. He's been in some really good films. He's played some really good parts. He's played JFK. He was an exceptional JFK in a film called 13 Days. So, they get a great actor to play a great Star Trek character, and like Anson Mount, they give him nothing. They really gave him nothing. He was such a one-dimensional character in those films.
Yeah, I mean, I think
really disappointing.
I think, to be perfectly honest with somebody with such gravitas as Bruce Greenwood, I think they could have really, really have done more. And I think the fact that he should have. Yes, let's just remember that. Okay, fair enough. Pike's character is in there, but it's not what the film's about. Which is, in that respect, I get that. But I think, to be honest with the first film, I would say more. I think the way the rough shot, the disrespect to the character and stuff like that, and where they could have done more with it was the second film.
But the disrespect, the disrespect in the first film was unbelievable, because to Star Trek canon, the disrespect to Pike was unbelievable. So he's in the first sort of 15 minutes, then he gets captured by, what's his face, Nero,
yeah.
And he gets tortured and turns up in a wheelchair at the end of the film. Just like they did to Pike in the Menagerie. But then he's up and about in the next film, and it's like, oh, look, hey. It's like J.J. Abrams being clever. Hey, we put Pike in a wheelchair. What do you think of that, Star Trek fans, eh?
Yeah, I can see your argument there, because let's just remind
I know what
ourselves.
I'm doing.
Let's just remind ourselves for a second here that this is supposed to be an era of humanity where stuff like broken bones and ligament damage, tendon damage, and to an extent, nerve damage and whatnot, can be fixed relatively quickly with a few hours on a bio bed with medical tricorders and the wonders of 24th century science, you know what I mean? So it does surprise me that he is actually indeed in a wheelchair.
Yeah, but this is back to what they've done to Pike in the menagerie.
Oh, there's that pen again.
Yeah, this is when I'm getting serious. Because Pike, have you seen the menagerie, or do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I have seen the menagerie. Yes, that's
right, okay.
the where.
So it's back.
That's
where
Spock
hijacks the Enterprise to get Pike back to Talos 4, so that he can have some sort of life. Okay, so the thing that I'm saying about disrespecting the character is at the end of the first Jar Jar Trek, when Kirk and Spock are getting the rewards in the Star Wars like rewards ceremony that's at the end of Star Wars, A New Hope, this Kirk Pike turns up in a wheelchair, and it's J.J. Abrams being clever, saying, "Hey, look, Star Trek fans, remember the menagerie? And Pike was in the wheelchair and couldn't talk. We've got him in a wheelchair here. We know what we're talking about. And ain't we clever?" No, you're not. You just not, because he turned up normal again.
I think
so. You never portrayed him as someone as to say that was badly injured for life and couldn't recover. You just, oh look, let's have Pike in a wheelchair. That'll be great. Fans will love it.
I think
just do stuff for the sake of doing it. Fans will love it. They're Star Trek fans.
So, okay then. Well, let's see. We've clearly established our differences on this particular subject. Me personally, I don't think
we've got many differences.
We've not got many differences, but they are there. But they are there. I mean, I did actually, unlike yourself, I did enjoy rewatching the episode of Discovery, if memory serves. Ironically, I forgot it for a second there.
Do you know what annoys me watching it? Right, is apart from the lens flare, right?
Oh, I was watching it, and I was watching this, and I could just imagine you just
apart
cringing.
From the lens flare. Apart from the lens flare, the show looks great. That's what really annoys me. Apart from the lens flare, which is excessive and unnecessary, the show looks great. Watching it again in HD today, and the lighting's, apart from the lens flare, the lighting's great, the sets are great.
Are you counting along at home,
the
folks?
photography's great, the use of wide-angle lenses is great, the show looks great. This is what annoys me. Spend some money on writing.
Instead of lens flares.
Instead of lens flares. How do they see what they're doing on that ship? I do not know.
To be perfectly honest with you, I mean, I actually don't mind the lens flares because it actually does one thing. It actually does a good thing for us because it means you don't go anywhere near threshold when you're talking about lens flares.
Well, the good thing about threshold is there's no lens flare in it. But we've not spoken about Menagerie Pike. Who's the second best Pike? The best Pike's Jeffrey Hunter.
Yes.
The second best Pike is Menagerie Pike. The third best Pike is Anson Mount. Well, I would put Anson Mount and Bruce Greenwood third equal, and they have both of them have all my sympathies because they do a great job with what they've been given.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest with you, that makes them brilliant. I mean, to be fair, I do kind of get what you're saying about the Menagerie, and that even with the fact that, you know, there's very little dialogue in the film from them, and the character sits in the chair, bleeps yes or no, bleep 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 bleep. Yeah. But it's the rest of
written in Anson Mount's.
But the point is that the surrounding stories, the surrounding actors, and the writing that they got set the scene for that, and that's where I can say where I can see where you would say what you're saying. Personally, I think that overall, I'm putting Anson Mount at the top. Okay, because his Pike, purely because of what you just said a minute ago, that they bring it They take what they're given, however good or bad it may be. Everybody's got an opinion, but they take what they're given, they run with it, and they make it work. They really drag it. Had it been anybody else, another different actor, I don't think it would have stood up as well as what it did. But Anson brings it. So Anson, for me, is at the top, closely followed by Jeffrey Hunter. And as good as Bruce Greenwood is as Pike in the films, he is in third place for me in that respect. Just because I feel like he didn't get enough.
You don't see much of him.
You don't see much of him. Now, if I was to look at them on individual standings, then they're all on equal par. Because they all bring something to the table to their respective portrayals of the characters. So, but yeah, as far as the character is concerned, my favourite is Pike from Discovery. Then it's Jeffrey Hunter's the original series Pike, and of course, now it did actually before Discovery. It did used to be the original series Pike, but unfortunately, J.J. Abrams' Trek is still at the bottom as far as which one would I rather watch? If I had a choice between the three, Discovery, original series, and then the movie.
It's four Pikes. It's four Pikes. You missed out Menagerie Pike.
Still original series. Pay attention.
Different actor though. Wasn't Jeffrey Hunter that played him?
No, that's true.
Still a different act.
But all he did was sit in that chair and go beep, beep, beep the whole episode. So I can't really call it acting, to be fair. Okay, no. That's unfair. That's unfair. There is the facial expression.
Jeffrey Hunter's in that episode as well.
Yes, I do believe so.
Because they do use the material from the cage.
They do, yes.
So, what I would say, I'm not going to pick a favourite Pike. What I would say is, if they can get, and this is the big if they can get the writing right for Strange New Worlds, I would like to see Anson Mount as Pike. But they need to get the writing right.
That brings me nicely on to something I would like to close with. Now, we have waxed lyrical about the acting abilities of the people who played Pike, which we both agree every single one of them knocked it out of the park. They did brilliantly with what they had. They are products of their time. Brilliant, every single one of them. But if you had to pick anybody now, you can't pick what we've already got. If you had to pick anybody to play the part of Pike, it could be a famous person, it could be somebody that's not even an actor, it could be one of your pals. It doesn't matter. If you could pick one person to play Pike, who would you pick?
Angelina Jolie.
Wow, okay, a female Pike. Oh, that was one hell of a curveball. Please show your working out. Why would you pick Angelina Jolie as a Pike? Or are we allowed to do that on YouTube? Carry on.
Who would be a good Pike? That's a good question. Other than the ones that have already played it.
See, it is a tough question, isn't it?
I don't know. I'd have to have a think about that.
Oh well, we can go back to this and see who you've thought about. But let's put you on the spot. We need an answer.
How about Martin Compston? Martin Compston.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. Who would I pick as a Pike? I mean, it is a difficult one to think about actually when you've got somebody as good as Anson Mount doing it. I'd actually go with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
I'd say Joaquin Phoenix would do I think he would do a good. I don't know if it's just that southern boy persona that we get with Anson Mount's Pike, but yeah, I'd definitely go with.
Another one I think would be good would be Russell Crowe just for when Kurtzman hands him some shit on a bit of paper, and Crow goes, "You expecting me to read this shit?" and then punches his lights out.
For a second there, I thought when you went Russell Crowe, I thought you was going to say because of his excellent portrayal in Master and Commander, but which is about the only good film I can watch of his, by the way. But that's a different conversation.
Never seen it.
It's a good film. I do enjoy that, but yeah, I mean, we'll have a think about that. And to be honest with you, anybody who's still is it actually anybody watching this?
Anyone who agrees with me, put your comments below. I'd like to see if anyone agrees with me.
Yes, that we would definitely like to see if anybody. And if you don't agree with him, his handle on Twitter is @CrabbitGinger.
I'll happily have that chat on Twitter. Explain to you how you're wrong.
Oh, believe me, if you think you are up to the challenge of getting into an argument with Gregor Cameron, then please do, because I would love to see that Twitter feed. That it would be amazing. But just remember, folks, we are a positive podcast. Set phasers to positive. We, on the show at least, keep it civil. So that being said, that brings us to the end of the show. So, Mr. Crabbit Ginger, what have you been up to? What would you like to say? Here's the bit where we do our little plugs and self-promote and try and...
Not been up to much. Still, I've changed jobs, so I've got a lot of reading to do with that, so I'm still catching up with all the new things that I need to learn in my new job and all that sort of thing. But I did defrost the freezer today and mop the kitchen floor. So,
which, as we've discussed, it was marginally better than watching The Memory Serves.
Which was better than watching If Memory Serves, yeah. Was more pleasurable.
Well, guys, myself as personally, I am still plodding on. I am still driving around in circles around East Lothian and getting the wonderful people of East Lothian and Edinburgh to where they need to be when they need to be there. Apart from that, guys, we are currently working on our latest podcast, which we are looking to release in January 2021. Hopefully, it will be a better year than this year, because let's be honest.
We're planning on releasing that at the beginning of the third lockdown.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's a different discussion we could have another day, but there is, if ever there was a year to be narrated by Samuel L. Jackson, this year is it, because let's be honest with you, there is multiple uses of the word motherfucker in 2020, let's be honest. That being said, guys, we are working on that. It is my run-through, my first full end-to-end run-through of Deep Space Nine. Along the way, I will learn new things. I will discover episodes and story arcs that I didn't know about or did know about but didn't fully understand. And Gregor Cameron, who is on this side of me, is going to be guiding me through that the whole way. And he's so far he's quite enjoying discussing Deep Space Nine with me, because you've never really been able to do that with me, have you?
No, I haven't. No, because you've never watched it. And this will be my fourth run through of the whole thing. I dip in and out of episodes all the time, but in terms of watching it from start to end, this will be my fourth run through. I'm looking forward to you seeing Move Along Home as one of the classics.
I've heard about this one. This is Deep Space Nine's version of Threshold, isn't it? This is their lemon episode.
Yeah. Yes, this is Deep Space Nine's Threshold. But then there's a couple like that. The Muse is like that, and Profit and Lace.
We will, like I say, we will get into that. And when we do release in January next year, it will be released as a weekly podcast. So you don't have to wait a month to see or hear our beautiful faces. And there we go, we're down to zero.
Yeah.
But yes, we will be doing that. And like I say, what we're going to be doing in the next episode of Spock the Week is we're going to go on to our next character in the original series.
Who we do next?
We've started with Pike, so let's go on to his replacement, Mr. James T. Kirk. This could be a long episode. This could be a couple of episodes. There
That'd
is
be
so
a
much.
long one.
We will revisit these characters on numerous occasions, but we'll get the initial one. What we'll do is we will be talking about the original series, the first season, the initial introduction of Kirk, and then we'll see where that goes. So next time on Spot the Week, we will do Captain Kirk. Well, we won't. Sarah might, but we won't.
Get Sarah involved if you want to talk about Captain Kirk.
Well, yeah, we will definitely get. I think to be honest with you, right? I think should we try and get some people on board for that one? I think that sounds like a Captain Kirk episode needs to be a round robin.
Yes.
It needs to be a round table discussion because he's such a big character. He has such a big influence on Star Trek and what comes thereafter and whatnot. So I think definitely we'll get a few guys on. And we will have a group discussion about Kirk. I think that. What do you think? That sounds like a plan. That sounds like a plan.
Yeah, group session with Kirk. A few people will be up for that.
I definitely think we can get some interest in that. So that being said, guys, the Twitter handles for Spock the Week, myself, and for Gregor Cameron are displayed around the screen as we speak. We also have our Patreon page if you like what we do, if you want to show your support and help us to improve and just pay Gregor to we accept donations for that. If you become a patron, depending on which tier you decide upon, you can just simply support us with tier 1, or you can support us and have your name up in lights in the credits and the end credits, and we will give you honourable mentions within the show. We would be very, very appreciative if you did come and support us. But that is a choice. It is your choice, and if you just want to watch us, that's fine as well. Do that by subscribing to our YouTube channel, the USS Alba Recreation Department, which you can find via a link on our Patreon page, and we will display the details down below as well. So that's enough from me. Sadly, for all you lovely fans, that's enough from the skewered Tribble and Gregor Cameron. Live long and
A
prosper.
unicorn.
Is it a unicorn? Oh,
Unicorn.
Gregor.
It's a unicorn.
Does your mum and dad know?
I don't know. Sarah, she likes purple. Look, she's even got a
Stop.
phone. She's got a purple
Stop.
phone cover.
Stop kidding on it, Sarah's. Stop. You've got the hooves and everything, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to dress up like that now. Sarah's away for a walk, so I'm going to get dressed as a unicorn for her coming home.
Okay. If you would like to see that portion of the video, please become a Patreon. Thank you guys for staying along so much. We will see you next month with our Captain Kirk episode. Thank you for watching. Remember, set phasers to positive. Live long and prosper. Goodbye. And we are done. You can stop now.